Hi there, it's Crystal with Every Tiny Victory. Thank you for joining me today. I wanted to give you just a quick check-in on week 4 of June 2025's reset, which we're calling the Just Get Out There and Do It challenge. So thank you for being here with me. Let's get started. If you're new here, my name is Crystal and I'm a 40-something-year-old woman living in Houston, Texas, and I'm on a health journey to try and get my health back in order after receiving a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes in December of 2023. What I wanted to talk about today was just kind of a check-in on how the month has kind of gone. And then, kind of talk about some topics about body awareness and weight tracking, and share some good news as well. Just wanted to give a trigger warning to anybody out there that may not be interested in, listening to information about measuring a person's weight on a scale or body image issues. I won't be offended if you skip this video. So, all right. So with that being said, I just want to say that, the month of June has flown by. It's hard to believe that we're already in week 4. This was a good time, I think, to start doing, the activity challenge. Basically, we wanted to try and get some lizard time, as my niece calls it, being outside in the sun, doing some kind of physical activity. For me, that has been walking. And I'm trying to build a base so that I can, start, 5K training at some point in the near future. I was hoping that I'd be a little bit further along with, being able to jog or something like that. But I literally am still, trying to get a foundation of, my feet, my ankles, my knees, my hips, from feeling discomfort when I do physical activity. So I think it's going to take a little bit more time, which is not a problem. I will probably, keep the walking, at least the this initial walking, going until, early July. And then I will, start working on a 5K plan. So I'll share that with you in my, one of my upcoming videos about what we're going to be doing for July. Now, what I wanted to discuss today was about body awareness surrounding weight, and, just kind of share with you some of my story. Now, I can remember being aware that I was a bigger person as early as elementary school. Back in the 80s when I grew up, we did national fitness tests. And, we would, the PE coach and the school nurse would, have everybody kind of go through lines, and they would take your height, they would take your weight, they'd have you stretch and, meet some, try to meet some certain measures on a yardstick, and you'd run a lap outside and they'd take it for time and different things like that. So, I remember when I was going through the girls line, they took my height and they were like, oh, you're, a lot taller than girls your age. And then I got on the scale and I remember eyebrows raised and I knew that wasn't good. They didn't make any, bad comments or anything like that. But I did notice that they didn't do that for the other girls in my class. I was, essentially the biggest one in the class, and usually I am. Anyway, I remember just thinking like there was something different about me, and, they didn't do that same eyebrow raise to other people. When I got into high school, I was an athlete. I've always been, pretty active. Throughout junior high and high school, I actually played several sports. And even in high school, I was, probably a size 14, 16. And in the 90s, it was really hard to come across affordable plus size clothing. So that was a challenge, just feeling, self-esteem issues for not having all the cool brand names and things that everybody else wore, but then the added layer of not being able to find them in your size, or not being able to afford those clothing that would at least help you feel a little bit more comfortable, as was my case. In college, I don't remember it being as big of an issue because I remember, at that point I was working and I had my own money that I could buy clothes with. When I lived at home with my family, we were a large family and, we were on a budget. So it wasn't like we could just go to the mall and buy whatever we wanted. So in my late 20s, I got into running and, started marathon training. And even at, I would say, the peak of physical fitness for me as an adult, during those years in my late 20s, I was still at my smallest, I think, and my most fit, a size like 12, 14, and well over 200 pounds. And, still by all definitions, plus size. Fast forward to now, in my, late 30s, early 40s, I've been trying to keep track of my weight just, for posterity's sake, I guess. But I also like having data to review. And my husband, bless him, he knows this about me. He's a technology nerd, and so he likes technology that can also connect to apps. And a couple of years ago, back in 2019, my husband Michael found a digital scale from a company called Wyze Technologies. It's WYZE, that connects to an app, and the scale itself measures not just your weight, but your BMI, your muscle mass, your I think it was hydration, your heart rate, a couple of different things, but it keeps a log of that as you weigh yourself from time to time. I remember in 2019, that I had said that I wanted to start getting back in shape and things like that. So that's, the reason why Michael found the scale for me. I got on the scale. My first recorded weight was in January of 2019. And, when I got onto the scale, that was the largest number I had ever seen. So the highest weight that I had seen to that point. It scared me enough that I didn't get back on the scale. I didn't get back on the scale until the following year in July of 2020, and had seen a new high. If you recall, in 2020, we were all living through the pandemic, and I know that I picked up several unhealthy habits, since we were on lockdown, and I had turned to emotional eating. So I had reached a new high at that time when I weighed myself again in July of 2020. I only weighed myself one time in 2021. And had again reached a new high. Each time, the increment was about 5 pounds. So not super crazy, but not going in the right direction. In 2022, at the beginning, it was February 2022, I had reached my a new high. So this was the third high. Again, another 5 pounds. But I, remember thinking that I wanted to do something different. And I can't recall what I was doing differently, but the next time that I weighed myself in May of 2022, I had lost 20 pounds. So that's great. That was the first time, in that 3-year span that I had seen my weight go down instead of up. Fast forward a little later in 2022, and I had started a new position with my institution. And so I was doing a lot of, learning on the job, as, we often do in new roles. We find new responsibilities that we didn't know about sometimes, and adjusting to a new team and all those different kinds of things. So in, September of 2022, so this would be the third time I weighed myself in that year, I had gained back those 20 pounds that I had lost. So a net, 0. Didn't lose any, but didn't gain any in 2022. Everything kind of came to a head for me in 2023. Now, what I didn't mention, I guess, over 2021 and 2022 is that I had been having a lot of health issues. And I'll get into those in a later video because those all kind of come together as part of my story of how I came to be diagnosed with diabetes. But in January of 2023, I had hit my new high. So this was the highest recorded weight that I have had as an adult, or ever, I guess. But January 2023 is kind of where I start my, starting weight, I guess, because that's the highest recorded weight I've had. Over 2023, I found a new doctor. I had gone through, some, getting blood work done to be set up as a new patient. And in December of 2023 is when I received my official diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. So in 2024, I knew that things had to change. With the addition of the GLP-1 medication, Mounjaro, over 2024, I had, lost 35 pounds. And starting in 2025, this year, I have been working on incorporating, some new habits and trying to undo some old ones, and have been struggling with a little bit of a plateau, just to be completely honest. Part of that has been due to, inconsistently taking my medication. In January, I ran out of my prescription and had to wait until I could see my doctor and get my new blood work and all that stuff to get my prescription again. I went back on it in February and then had to come off of it again in March so that I could have a colonoscopy. In April, I got back on my medication, and in May, in May, my medication dose was increased. And so I've been consistently back on the medication for almost 12 weeks at this point. And so, over these past 3 months, I've been, losing and gaining the same 5 pounds. The good news I want to share with you after all of this, kind of review of my weight timeline, is that as of June 22nd, 2025, which was just, this past weekend, I hit a new low. So I believe that the changes that I've been making in June to adjust for some of those digestive issues that I had earlier this month, as well as the physical activity that I've been doing over the past 3 weeks, have helped me to break that plateau. And I have actually lost an additional, it looks like 8 pounds. So, I'm sorry, 7 pounds, 7 pounds. So that is phenomenal, astronomically phenomenal, because over the past year, in 2024, I was losing, 1 point something pounds here, 2 point something pounds there, and, for a net loss of 35 pounds at the end of 2024. To lose 7 pounds in a month, I don't know if that is the result of the blockage, I guess, the backed up plumbing that I was experiencing. Only time will tell if the dietary changes I've been making, increasing my fiber, increasing my water, increasing physical activity, are making, the scale move in the right direction now. I have shared before that I don't, want to lose a lot of weight really quickly because I am concerned about having a lot of loose skin. And as you age, you probably know that your skin loses a lot of elasticity. So I'm comfortable with losing, 1 to 2 pounds a month. So, 7 pounds in a month is fantastic, but also kind of concerning. So I'm going to see if that's something that, maintains over the month of July. And if so, then maybe I need to make some adjustments so it's not quite so many pounds in a month. But I'm happy that, those, 5 pounds or so have come off, and that I've lost that additional 2 pounds, I guess. So that's, some good news that I wanted to share. With regarding, weighing yourself, I think it's important to have a record. Like, I'm glad that I can look back on, this weight timeline with the scale, and it's logged somewhere, that I don't have to manually keep, track of it. But it can be demotivating, if that makes sense. Particularly if you are paying attention to all these videos and different things out there where people are losing, 10, 20 pounds a month, and you may be losing just ounces or, a pound or something at a time. There was a time in my early, 20s where I was trying to lose weight and was weighing myself, every week, and that slowly turned into every couple of days, and that turned into every day, and that turned into after every meal. And so I know that I can fall into those traps too, where you want to see that progress and then kind of become obsessive about it. So I myself need to be cautious of that, so that it doesn't become something that is a negative experience in part of this journey to get healthy. I wanted to share, in the coming weeks, I guess, or in the coming weeks, I think, my diagnosis story, I guess, how I came to be diagnosed with diabetes. And obviously, you will take a blood test, and if your A1C is above a certain, number, then you're diabetic. But you don't just magically turn diabetic. There is a slow, gradual process to getting there. And I wanted to share with you what my story was, because I think it's a good, way to become aware of some other, some indicators that your body is struggling and, that you're heading in the wrong direction with your health. Just some things that I wish I was aware of, that I was educated on. And even there's a lesson in there about advocating for yourself with your medical practitioners, your medical professionals, your team of healthcare folks that are helping you look after yourself. So I want to share that as well in the coming weeks. If you're interested in that, drop me a line and let me know what you want to hear. I'm happy to share, anything that would be helpful to anybody out there. In closing, though, I just wanted to say that, this, just reviewing my weight timeline has been really helpful, particularly over 2025, as I have, a record of my weight once a month. I've been very diligent about getting on the scale around the same time every month at the beginning of the month, and just happened to weigh myself this past weekend because I had been having those issues with my digestion, and bowel movements. So maybe I'll give a detailed story about that, not too detailed, but detailed enough. But I just wanted to say that, developing new habits, getting rid of some of the old ones, and learning how to make healthier choices has been really helpful in this process, because I think a lot of times, I know myself for sure, feel like I'm going to be so pumped about something, and I'm super on fire about this certain thing, and eventually that enthusiasm will wear off, especially if, like me, on this journey with Mounjaro, you've had to stop and start and stop and restart, or you're not seeing the progress that you thought you would see. When your motivation runs out, that's when the discipline needs to kick in. And that's what retraining yourself, that's what I'm trying to do with retraining my habits, is being able to rely on those things that I've learned and that I've picked up, the new things that I know will move me in the right direction rather than, taking me a step back. So I'm just really thankful, I think, that I have so many, friends and family in my support structure, supporting me on this journey, because I've had so many people, texting just to check in and see how I'm doing, or letting me know that they're seeing my videos, or walking with me in my June challenge, sorry, getting ahead of myself, or coming with me to go grocery shopping, or give me a cooking lesson, or, any number of things. And I'm so thankful for that support. If you don't have that kind of support in your life, I hope that, this can be a community for you, where you can find that support and inspiration and, encouragement, because it's hard. It is hard to make those decisions every day. But what I have to tell myself is that it's a quality of life issue for me. It's a longevity issue, for me. Diabetes is a disease that has affected many family members, that live with complications of diabetes. Things that are just unfair, really unfair. Diabetes, unfortunately, has also taken a beloved cousin and a beloved uncle. And I don't want anybody else to have to go through that if I can help it. I don't want that for anybody in my family or my friends. I don't want that to be my outcome, and I don't want that to be yours or anybody that you love, either. So, I'm really positive. I think I'm really excited about the changes that I'm seeing. I guess that the results of the changes that I've been making over the month of June, and I hope that you're seeing some positives out of your activity as well, if you've been doing the Just Get Out There and Do It challenge with me as well. I'm really trying to increase my time outside this week, because I had several days last week where I did an indoor activity. And so I really want to strive this week to try and get that lizard time in. So getting that, getting some time in the sun, doing my physical activity, my walking, whatever it's going to be outside. If you're doing the challenge, leave me a comment below. Let me know how you're doing. I just want to tell you, in the month of June 2025, I love you so much. I love you for the person that you are and the authentic person that you are. There's nothing about you that I would change. I just love you so much. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.